Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking in the Kitchen with Mrs Maddocks. You know that I'm from Cameron Middle School. I'm going to teach you today how to make 2 healthy breakfasts in a mug. Why? Well, because sometimes when you go to school, you're very hungry before you leave the house and you need to have something fast. Sometimes your parents are working, but you can help yourself. Okay, so we're ready for our second breakfast. That's going to be a French toast in a mug. Really tastes good. Has a nice cinnamony taste. You're going to like making this. Let's take a look at the ingredients. Don't worry, you're going to see it on the screen, but then I'm going to explain it. Okay? You're going to need a mug again. I like my nice big mug. You're going to need 1 spoon. I always put 2 down just in case. You're going to need a pat of butter, 1 to 1.5 slices of bread in small pieces, but you can throw 2 of them in there, that's fine, because most of you are pretty hungry when you're going to school. We'll need almond milk. You will need spices like cinnamon and nutmeg and some vanilla and sugar-free maple syrup. We use that in our house because, again, I'm making this for a family member. But you can also use regular maple syrup, whatever you want to use. And then you can add fruit to it. I'm going to add banana to this later on. Okay? And you probably need a little knife. That's it. Let's go. After we have everything assembled, we can take a pat of butter like this, and we can put it into the mug. And then we want to heat that for 15 seconds so that it's nice and melted. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to take this out. The butter is nice and melted. Now we're going to just follow our recipe, and we're going to add 1 egg to this. I'm going to stir that just a little, and then I'm going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. Now I'm using almond milk. You can use regular milk. You can use a half and half. It doesn't matter as long as it's like a milk product. Okay, so here's 1. And I'm trying not to overdo it. And maybe a little more. Okay, that's enough. And now I'm going to stir this up. We're going to add our spices now. I'm going to add a dash of ground cinnamon. And you can never have too much cinnamon, but I love the taste of cinnamon. Then we're going to add a little bit of nutmeg. That's optional. You might not even have nutmeg at home. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, this is a clean spoon. I know this is a tablespoon. So a teaspoon is just a small amount on there like that. There, that's good. Now I'm going to stir that, and we're ready to add the bread. Okay? Now I have these pieces of bread already torn up to make it fast. You can use the crusts on the bread. Some people don't like the crusts, but I'm putting them in there. And once I get 1 in, I'm going to just push it down into the liquid to see how that's doing. You want this bread to absorb that liquid. Okay, there's still a lot of liquid in there. So I'm just going to add my other pieces to it. This is 2 slices of French toast in here. when you think of it. This will taste great when it's hot. Now, stir it gently around. Make sure it's totally covered, okay? You want it to just coat. There, that's good. Now you're going to let that sit a minute so that it takes up the liquid. And then we'll put it in the microwave and see what happens. Remember, I let the bread soak in here for about a minute. Right before I add this to the microwave, I'm going to add some maple syrup, about a tablespoon. Give it a stir. And now I'm going to put it in. I'm going to cook it for about a minute. Okay, let's take a look. It is, I think it could go for maybe like 20 seconds longer. If you see that it looks a little bit wet to you, just put it back in yourself. Usually a minute does it. There you go, that's what it should look like. And now I'm just going to top it off with some fruit. I think I'll put some bananas in. Then you can add a little more maple syrup and you're ready to go. This is a great breakfast. You can do a lot of things with this. There are a lot of options. A lot of people like berries, like blueberries or strawberries. I've seen people even take just whipped cream and top it with cinnamon and sugar. Whatever you like, just have fun. And this is another healthy breakfast. So we are going to get ready for some reflection questions. We're going to connect how making these two breakfasts, the omelet in a mug and the French toast in a mug, connect to science. But before we do that, and before I give this to a family member, I am taking one bite of this myself. I want to see how good it tastes. Did it come out well? It's very, very moist. The banana tastes really good with the maple syrup. You're going to enjoy this. Hi everyone, we're at our final phase of cooking in the kitchen with Mrs Maddocks, where you have learned how to make a healthy omelet and French toast in a mug. We're going to talk about some questions and reflect on science of what happened scientifically, what kind of changes that happened, whether physical or chemical changes when we did both of these recipes. But first, I do want to say that I think it's good to have a couple of recipes like this where you can help yourself, but you can also help your siblings if they're hungry. You can make these little meals when you come home from school or on a weekend. It's always good to know how to cook. I want you to think of other ingredients that you could have put in these recipes to make it your own. You can find many things in your refrigerator and many things that would really maybe taste better for you. You'd change up vegetables. You could add different spices. But think about that for a minute. Now I just want to go through a few questions about physical and chemical changes. And I want you to stop the video after each question and try to answer it before I come back. And let's see if you can get 4 out of 4 questions right. Okay, your first question is, when we were making the omelet, we had to cut into the tomato and we had to tear up the spinach, what kind of change took place when we did that? So if you answered a physical change, you were correct. Cutting into the tomato or ripping the spinach apart did not change any of the composition in the tomato or the spinach. It didn't change in any way. We still have spinach and spinach, and we still have tomato and tomato. That would make it a physical change. Now, let's think of, remember when we were mixing the omelet and we put an egg inside the cup and we mixed it a little, and then we added some milk, okay? Now, the milk and the egg are joined, and we're really joining them with this mixing of the spoon. So looking inside this mug, what kind of change took place then? Stop your video. Well, if you answered a physical change, again, you've got 2 questions right. We had milk, which was a liquid, and the egg, which was beaten up a little bit, which was liquidy. It didn't really change substance. It only mixed together. Nothing really changed between the egg and the milk except that it mixed together. It didn't form a new substance. So therefore, it's a physical change. Okay, your third question. What type of change happens if we're looking at this banana? Now, I know I could have peeled the banana, and sometimes you have little brown spots on the banana, but this really shows it really well. What kind of change are these brown spots on the banana? And try to think further, what process is happening? So, I'm sure you're going to change up your answer a little bit. You had 2 physical changes. If you said chemical change, you are correct. These brown spots are formulating on the nice yellow skin because of a chemical change. It totally changes the substance of this skin. And to be technical, it's an enzyme. It's polyphenol oxidase. But just say there's an enzyme reacting with the oxygen, and it's causing these brown spots to form, which is the process of oxidation, and that definitely is a chemical change. Remember when we first started to make the omelet and the egg and the milk were mixed, and then we added spinach, and then we added some tomato slices and maybe salt and pepper? When we put it in the microwave and it came out and it was a beautiful omelet, what change took place then? Well, that was a little bit of a trick question because it first started off as a physical change where the milk and the egg were mixed. But when we finally cooked it in the microwave and took it out and it was nice and fluffy, it was actually a chemical change because the whole substance really took on a different form. And for you to know the difference between a physical and chemical change is pretty easy. A physical change, something takes place, a process takes place, but the ingredients or the molecules do not change. So that's just a physical change. But when we have something like the oxidation on the banana, or you have the omelet coming out as a different substance, that's a chemical change. Usually for a chemical change, what happens is either heat is added or given off, light is given off, sometimes a smell or even fizzing. That will let you know that a chemical change has taken place. So I hope you learned something about making healthy meals in a mug. Hope you're going to enjoy your breakfasts and you learned a little bit about science and physical and chemical changes as well.